Welcome to a new episode of This Is My Offer. I am Hari Radhakrishnan. I am the Global Partner Solution Architect specializing in advertising and marketing technology at AWS. Today, we'll be talking to Philip, who is VP of Strategic Alliances at Tenovos, about their digital asset management and content activation offering. Welcome, Philip.
Thanks, Harry. Very excited to be here.
For the viewers, Tenovos is a trusted advertising and marketing competency partner who have been working with AWS for years. So, Philip, could you please tell me what Tenovos does and how you support the marketing tech industry?
Of course, Harry. That's a great question to kick us off. So, Tenovos is a modern data-first digital asset management and content intelligence solution. We are built natively on AWS from the ground up to deliver best-in-class SaaS and cloud-enabled platform to help enterprise marketers and creatives manage assets and orchestrate their content and media supply chains. And I'm sure our audience knows, large organizations are often spending millions, if not billions, on content, whether it be product shots, advertising, media, ad units, high-value production shoots, you name it, content is being produced everywhere. About 7 years ago, Tenovos launched our digital asset management product, which has been very well received in the market, and we are blessed to have some of the world's biggest brands trusting Tenovos to help store, manage, and orchestrate their content. All brands that you and I recognize globally. However, today, I'm most excited to share with this audience the release of a new product as a complement to our DAM. And as we look ahead, we believe this new content intelligence solution, which we call Tenovos Glass, will make an even bigger splash in the market.
Wow, that sounds very interesting, Philip. Tell me more about Tenovos Glass.
Of course. So let me start off with a little bit of a story here that has a senior marketing executive, let's say the CMO of a very large CPG company, as our protagonist. This is actually a true story. So after a relatively modest year, the CFO comes to the CMO and sets an expectation that they must have a 10% cut in content production. Now, this company, like I said, is a very large advertiser, and they spend $3 billion with a B, $3 billion a year on content. So we're talking about an ask of a significant savings of $300 million. So the CMO goes to her team and asks what should have been a relatively simple question. With all the spending that we have, where is our content? And what she got back surprised her. Her team came back with some vague answers, citing that some content sits with agencies, other content sits with internal tools, and that there was really no way to capture where all the content lives. This, of course, did not address her question, obviously frustrated the CMO. So the CMO asks her team a second question, which is, okay, of the content that we have visibility into, that we have access to, that we can see, do we know how much of this content has been used? Meaning it's been in channel, published, activated, or not used, thinking that perhaps she can just cut the content that was never published. Again, her team leaves her to be disappointed, citing that they really don't have a good way of understanding which content ever made it into their distribution channels.
So, Philip, let me stop you here. Finding content is a problem a lot of my customers are dealing with. How are you addressing these?
Yeah, well, that's really kind of the main problem here, Hari, especially for large organizations that produce a lot of content. While we launched a very successful dam, we understand that really only perhaps 40 to 50% of content makes it into a dam. And that's, even if you have a highly intuitive dam, modern dam that benefits from strong governance, the rest of the content is all over the place and usually poorly tagged and therefore impossible to find. So what if we could use generative AI innovations from AWS to surface and visualize all that content, no matter where it lives? What if we could use semantic search to explore this content, even if you're not using Tenovos Dam? Well, that is exactly what we've been building and is now available in our latest product, Tenovos Glass. With Tenovos Glass, we've enabled the ability to search and visualize all the assets regardless of where they live. So back to our CMO in this story. Now imagine if she not only could quickly locate and visualize the content the teams have produced last year, but could also overlay utilization and effectiveness information. Data about where the content was used and how it performed in channel. So she could say, cut the least performing content in certain non-essential channels and find immediate efficiencies and savings. Or perhaps produce more of the most effective content. That has a potential to make a big impact on a marketing organization. And that is precisely the opportunity we've addressed for senior marketers with Tenovos Glass.
Wow, that's one unified content identification. That's great. How are you using Tenovos Glass to impact customers in AdTech, retail CPG, and also, oftenly referred as media, and entertainment and gaming and sports, known as MEGs. How are you doing across these industries?
That's a great question, Harry. And we have a few different use cases that tend to resonate across those different domains. So in CPG and retail, like our heroine in the story experienced, we see some key use cases, including content discovery and visualization. So show me all the content that was produced in this year or that year for this period or that period. And that has some appeal. But as we look at extending that use case, we know that with our effectiveness package, we can answer some more profound questions like, show me the content that performed below average, or the advertising media that was below average in the following social channels. We also see the impact in CPG in the creative brief. Whether it's in-house or external agencies, we're able to ingest a brief and then utilizing AI foundation models from AWS like Bedrock and the latest LLMs like Nova, we're able to categorize and generate metadata that summarizes scenes, brands, motion, sentiment, and much, much more. And these results could be used as inspiration for mood boards and other tools to kick off the creative process. And we also see it as kind of being like a pre-brief for agencies to get all the assets associated with a particular new campaign, potentially saving both the creative teams and the agencies a lot of back and forth. And of course, time equals money. The other thing that we're excited about in this related use case is the notion that these collections or groupings and categories of assets can be used to train micro-learning models. So LLMs specific to a brand or a company that can be trained to create more assets like these successful assets. And that, of course, has very large implications, exciting implications for generative content use cases.
Okay, that's a great use case and how you solve for CPG industries. What about media entertainment, where most of the media is consumed? And that should be another interesting area, right?
Absolutely, it is. And as you know, Harry, in media entertainment, There is certainly a situation where these organizations, many publishers, broadcasters, studios, they've amassed a treasure trove of content over decades. And that content is difficult to access and therefore hard to monetize. Regardless of the industry, we're pretty excited about kind of this last use case, if you will, that's targeting AWS customers, specifically surfacing all the content that is available in S3 buckets, and really understand as an output how to optimize storage, which content you want accessible at the snap of your fingers, and which content can be moved to, say, something like Glacier to lower costs and optimize storage tiering. So for technical teams, really regardless of the industry, this can have a huge impact on costs and performance.
That is great. That is really, really exciting, Philip. I know the indexing of S3 buckets is something a lot of AWS customers could benefit from. Would you share some key highlights of the Tenovos solution?
Absolutely, Harry. So there's really three components of Tenovos Glass. Visualization, which is the ability to discover, search, and be able to organize assets regardless of their point of origin or repository. Utilization, which then incorporates information about where those assets were published, whether it be owned, earned, or bought channels. And then finally, effectiveness, which is bringing back the performance data into the view of the asset. So you now can understand really a 360-degree view of asset productivity and performance, or be able to calculate return on asset. So back to our story, our heroine is, of course, working with Tenovos Glass to actually save considerable dollars to her budget. It's actually a true story, and it's one heck of an ROI that we can point to. And that's really precisely the type of impact we can expect to see with any company spending significant dollars on content production today. And now, before you jump in, Harry, I'll just mention that it opens up a very interesting kind of audience within large advertisers, sort of buyers for Tenovos Glass, which are global marketing operation teams and procurement teams, because these teams are particularly focused on kind of benchmarking and cutting kind of reuse and wastage reduction. So they're looking at all the spending across large advertising, working with agencies, and can see a huge potential with application of Tenovos Glass.
Yeah, this is great, Philip. The product that solves number of use cases across multiple industry spectrums. Some of our viewers who are brands who may be looking at integrating with this product. How can brands get started on this?
Of course, a very good question, Harry, and a great way for us to kind of close out this segment. Both Tenovos DAM and Tenovos Glass are available through AWS Marketplace, but we know that for most organizations, they may already have a DAM in place. So really, they should be thinking about how to perhaps leverage existing technologies and try to get a faster time to value with something like Tenovos Glass. And in order to do that, we've developed a 4-step content readiness and valuation framework. And it's really kind of 4 steps to take you from where you might be today to a full understanding of the impact that Tenovos Glass and content intelligence may have on your organization. So working from left to right, we start with an understanding of the high-level opportunity that the organization has around their content readiness. And then we dive into an understanding of kind of the current state, looking at metadata integrity, kind of the breadth and scale of use cases and complexity of use cases, and the related workflows. We then step into some additional details around the content or media supply chain. That may be use of generative AI, integrations in the MarTech stack and across the content journey, and automations, either those in place today or those that are planned. And the framework concludes with a look at how to execute against this vision, considering kind of a program charter, a roadmap, business case if needed, and kind of an identification of how to work with specific stakeholders that are required to be brought on to the process to see ultimate organizational success. Sort of a plan that gets built together with the client.
And Philip, what kind of investments, does such an approach ideally would require?
Yeah, so really to get started, Harry, we're pretty excited to be working so closely with AWS, and we have the ability to provide the first milestone as an initial workshop, as an offer exclusively for AWS customers, as a complimentary offer. So we refer to this as the content valuation assessment. And it's usually a full day or half day workshop. It's run in tandem with AWS account teams, architects, the customer stakeholders themselves. And we'll utilize a sample set of assets. We'll get together. We'll use Tenovos Glass to help us understand the current state of the assets, and we'll model out potential opportunity for the customer. And this goes a long way towards helping stakeholders truly understand the potential impact on their organizations. And usually, once we have the content valuation completed, we can determine which other milestones may be required or needed to keep the momentum of the effort going forward. So really, to qualify an AWS customer or prospect can reach out to their account executive or visit the link in the YouTube page for additional details. Complete the form, register, and we'll be happy to sit down and discuss options and the best way to proceed.
Well, Philip, that sounds like a very compelling offer that brands and our customers don't want to miss, right? An exclusive complimentary workshop for AWS customers. I love it. Philip, I want to thank you for taking time to talk to us on this episode of This Is My Offer. For our viewers to dive deep, there are hyperlinks that are posted in this YouTube video. Please visit those hyperlinks to learn more about Tenovos.